Hey everybody, what's going on? Happy 2024. This is the Battle Done coming at you with another video. To start this new year off, guys, what I want to do is give thanks. Right now, we're going to be looking at the arm aspect of the times. Going to get right into it. You're going to see throughout this video as I give thanks for things that God has done for me throughout my life. And by no means is a comprehensive list, but I took some time and wrote down around 16 things that I really wanted to put out there for the whole world to see. Not ashamed of this at all. Some pretty amazing things. And if you are a believer in the supernatural, you will be in for quite a ride. So to get started, I'm going to start off for as far back as I can remember. It's going back to when I was toddler, pre-toddler, like first few months of my life that I have memories. Okay, so something was happening when I was part of this related to me by my mom years later. So what happened was, there would be times when my mom would pass by my room and she would hear me talking and laughing, like, you know, the baby babble and laughing. So she would check into the room and see that, you know, there's nobody in there, but I'm looking at the wall as if someone's there and I'm interacting with. So she didn't really pay too much attention to that. But what happened later was, a few weeks later, she told me that I would start to like bite, scratch, be really irritated when she would come into the room to get me after seeing me there just laughing and talking. So it got progressively worse. At the time, we were attending a church and she brought it up to the pastor. And the pastor, after some prayer, he asked my mom, has anyone given your child any gifts, toys, things like that? And she said, yes, there's a lady that is a neighbor downstairs in the apartment complex. They gave my son some toys and things like that. So he advised her immediately to get rid of those toys, that there was some witchcraft involved. He then got in touch with another pastor that I believe was located in Texas. At this time, me and my mom, we were living in Mississippi. That's where I was born. So that pastor in Texas mailed the pastor in Mississippi a cloth that had been prayed over. So he instructed my mom to just keep the cloth with me at all times and for a while and just pray, and eventually it will pass. So before it ended though, I do have one memory of something strange happening. And so I was in my crib. I remember being in my crib yelling and screaming. So my mom comes to the door. She peeks in, then she comes in. What I'm trying to do, although I can't articulate it, what I'm trying to do is get her to turn around because there's a monster in the closet. So the best way I could describe this monster to you is, if you guys remember those glowworms from back in the day. So I had one of those glowworms. So, you know, the color of the glowworm, this monster's face, all it was just a head at the top of the closet on the shelf, the top shelf in the closet. It was this head. So it was glowing the same color as the glowworm would glow, but it didn't look anything like the glowworm's face. And it wasn't until years later, actually, as I was doing research for my book, that I found what that looked like. Basically, the image that it looked like was a demon from the Pacific realm, and that blew me away, and it made perfect sense once I put the two together. So for that, I just want to thank God for showing me at a young age, even before I could really understand spiritual concepts and spiritual warfare, showing me that there is actually a warfare, and the innocent are often targeted. The articles, the clothes, the toys that the lady had given me, turns out that lady was a practicing witch. So what she had done was basically giving my mom charged or animated objects, ritually animated, to engage me. This is a very cold and heartless thing to do, but that's warfare. That's how it works. That's how it goes down. So I want to thank God for just, first of all, protecting me, showing me his protection, and then letting me know that there's something going on in this world. The next thing that happens years later, not too many years later, a few years later, moved to Alabama. We end up having renting a house. My mom, my aunt, her two kids. So we're all there in the house, all five of us living in the house. There's this kid from up the hill, all I knew. We lived at the base of this hill. This hill is going to come into the story more as it develops. But so I was just happy as an only child. I don't have any brothers or sisters. I was happy that there was another kid to play with. Now, I think I might do a video about this kid in the future, because this kid it was something strange about this kid. He was older than me. I remember looking up to him because he was tall. He was still a kid, right? So at the time, I'm like, what, four-ish, around that age. So one day, we're playing near the house. We never went far from the house. We stayed in the yard. Moms wouldn't let me leave the yard. The yard is pretty big, though. So one day, we discover this strange rock about 10, 15 feet from the back door. So there's a screen door. There's a window that sits right above the kitchen sink. My mom at the time is home, and her big sister, my aunt, which is who did not live with us at the time. She just come to visit. She was cooking, and my mom was just in the kitchen talking with her. So I'm literally about 10 to 15 feet from the back door. They could easily peep out and see me. So this rock was fascinating to us because it was like a rock I had never seen before or since in my life. And the thing that was so fascinating was as I walk around the rock, I could see the ground because there's these big holes in the rock. Picture in the mind of Swiss cheese. There's also a few jagged edges coming out from the rock at random points. So I'm walking around the rock. I'm like just amazed looking at it. It's incredible. Grayish, brownish, dark colored. So at the time I had a big wheel. So I got on my big wheel and I start riding around the rock. I go clockwise and I turn around and go counterclockwise. I'm doing this for about 2 or 3 minutes. And at one point, I'm riding around the rock and I feel my leg is wet. I look down, blood. So I jump off the big wheel. I run in the house. Mom, the rock cut me. And my mom, my aunt, they're looking at me like, what is going on? They see the blood on my leg. So what does my mom do? My mom, she grabs the Bible, and she starts to read the 91st Psalm. All right? Calls the ambulance. Ambulance is on their way. So, no, as a matter of fact, she didn't call the ambulance. She just read the Psalms to get the bleeding to stop. I wish I could ask her why she chose to do that, but the nature of the event, I think, called for it, looking back on it. So the amazing thing is that as she starts to read the 91st Psalms, which is a warfare prayer, it's about relief and rescue from demonic oppression and attack. As she starts to read the 91st Psalm, the bleeding actually stops. Pretty much the bleeding stopped as soon as she started reading it. It's just that blood was still running down my leg, the blood that had come out before she started reading needed to finish running down my leg. I'm sitting there looking at my leg. I'm watching the blood stop, the bleeding stop. So by the time she finishes reading, it's pretty much a done deal. Wipe the blood off. We go to the ER. I get stitched up. Come back. I'm trying to show her. All I have to do, I'm thinking in my mind, is just open up the back door. Boom, the rock. There's no rock. It was as if the rock appeared that day. The event happened, and the rock was just gone. So, some time later, years later, I remember bringing this up with my mom, and she said that the doctor had pulled her aside because he was really concerned. See, she told him exactly what I said happened, which was outside. He was playing with this rock, on this rock, around this rock, and the rock cut him. Well, the doctor was like, look, this wound is not consistent with something like that because it's a clean wound. It's as if this kid had been cut with a knife or a scalpel. There's no debris, there's no dirt, nothing in the wound. It's a clean wound. So he was starting to go down the line of, this kid got stabbed or cut with a knife and you're just not telling me. Got kind of tense there for a second. I didn't know this at the time, but that's what it went down. So I want to thank God for, again, showing me the power of protection, showing me the power of his word. It was literally a miracle, guys. I was sitting there watching the blood stop. The bleeding stopped as soon as the word of God was proclaimed. Again, just letting me know that there are strange things that happen in this world, and just making me see that and making that so real for me. I thank you, God, for that. A few years pass, and I would say I'm around like 6. So at this time, I'm becoming cognizant of the fact that, I'm not going to have a relationship with my father. And I'm realizing that, hey, this is the way it's going to be. And I was just trying to wrap my mind around that because I knew it's like, I have to deal with this. And so I've been thinking, I had thought about it for a few weeks at that time. And I just came to the understanding that, okay, what am I going to do? I got to do something. And I started to think about, all right, well, I know about Jesus, right? I know that Jesus, he died for our sins, resurrected. I really, to believe that, it wasn't strange for me. I'm like, well, that's God. I mean, God can do that kind of thing, to die and resurrect. That sounds like a God thing to me. So that wasn't really a stretch for me. The thing about it was that I had heard also about God the Father. I was like, God, there's a father aspect to God. Couldn't wrap my mind around it. 6 years old. But I knew there's a such thing as God the Father. And I said a prayer. And basically, the prayer went like this. I walked into the closet in my room that me and my mom shared. And I just said, God, if you're a father, like they say, and you love us, I want you to be my father. I know that my earthly father, that's just not a thing. It's just not going to be. Not going to have that sort of experience in my life. So I want you to be my father instead. And what I did was I made a mark inside the closet. I put Don in a heart, God. Don love God. That's what I did to commemorate it. And so that was pretty much it, right? And the thing was about that is that for years and years later, I'm talking about high school age, so over a decade of time passed, and every time that I would think about that moment in my mind, my memory of that moment would always be that I wasn't alone. I wasn't alone in that closet when I was doing that. At the time when I did it, I didn't feel anything like supernatural. I just was very much sincere about what I was doing. But other than that, that was it. But when I would think about it, when I would remember it, I remembered a presence being there with me. God was there with me. And that gave me so much strength in times just dealing with fatherlessness as a young man growing up. It can be very tough. And just remembering that gave me strength. And I thank you, God, for being with me, for showing me, guiding me along the path of manhood. And God has shown me many things along that path of manhood and gave me some really great lessons. And I appreciate that deeply. There's a lot of young men especially going through this. And I often hear that it affects their view of God because of God the Father. If their father has not been in their life, it affects how they relate to God. And I thank God for putting a defense, like a spiritual, psycho-spiritual defense in my heart against that particular attack. So, a few more years passed by, and I am, in this particular instance, I'm riding my bike. Me and my friends, we went riding our bikes. This was maybe a year or two later. Made friends and everything. We're riding our bikes, having fun. And we're coming up on an intersection. About 50 yards away from the intersection, one of my friends, Sean, he's like, "Hey D, there's a car coming." Now, the intersection, there were houses along the street, and there was so you couldn't really see any vehicles that were coming towards the intersection till you got right up on it, except there were some spaces in between the houses where you might catch a glimpse of something. So when he says that, I just ignore him. But I look to the left to see, and I do catch a glimpse of a car. But I still keep going. I don't know what come over me. I just didn't care. And sure enough, I'm steadily heading towards the intersection. I can't see the car at this time because, again, there's some houses in the way. Get up on the intersection, it's too late. Boom. I wake up. When I woke up, I knew something was wrong because I woke up. Touch my face, see the blood, pass out again. I wake back up. By this time, the ambulance is there. I'm hearing this guy, "Calm down, just take a seat. He's bringing out this folding chair out in the middle of the street. I thought it was for me at first, but actually it was for my mom's because the neighbors, they thought moms was gonna jump on the woman for hitting me. This happened like 1 block from the house. So apparently my friends ran down there and told her, and so she was right there. And so I did not have a good view of hospitals, ambulances, all that good stuff. Still don't to some degree. The ambulance is there. Like, "Hey, you go get in the ambulance, go to the ER." I'm like, no, I don't want to get in the ambulance. I'm gonna, I'll be all right. We go to the hospital later, trying to be tough. My head is, the adrenaline's pumping though. I'm not really feeling it like that. So they asked me again about the ambulance. I'm like, no, adamant. My mom's just like, no, because she know how I felt about the hospitals and all that stuff. So, walk back to the house. She's like, I'm adamant now. I'm not going to the hospital. Like, I'm going to be all right. She's like, "Baby, just go in there and look at it." So I went into the bathroom. I look at my head, my face. Boom, just, man, it was nasty. So, I'm like, I gotta go to the hospital. I just got in the car and rolled up there, and they did the stitches and everything. But what I'm thankful for about that whole thing is a couple things. I'm thankful to God for had good friends growing up in my life. I always had not a ton, but a small group of good guys. And Sean, he warned me. I thank you, God, for friends that will tell me about danger. So even if I'm stubborn and ignorant and just not caring, I can't say I wasn't warned. So I thank you for that, bringing good people into my life at times when I need it. I also thank God I didn't lose my eye. Look at this. I don't know if you guys can see this. I don't know if y'all can see it, but right here, the scar is like right here. Part of the scar is literally on my eyelid. Just a few millimeters down, it'll hit my eye. Could have put my eye out. So I thank you, God, that I have both of my eyes. Thank you for seeing through my foolishness and arrogance and just helping me despite myself. All right, a few years later, I would say at this time, I moved up on the top of this hill. Okay, so this hill, at the bottom of this hill is where I had the car accident, where I had the rock accident. So now I'm living on the top of this hill. All right. I've been hanging out with my friends. I'm about 12, 13. been hanging out with my friends at the in the neighborhood. Time to go home. It's coming up on like dusk. And so one of my friends, he's like, okay, I'll walk with you halfway up the hill. So Sean's older brother, Sheldon, he walks me up the hill, halfway up the hill, part ways. And I get to the top of the hill. There's still about, I would say about a half a mile, between an eighth and a half of a mile to walk before I get to my house. So I get to the stop sign there. To the part of the road just keeps going down the other side of the hill. I need to just make a right to go down the lane. That's the only turn on the top of this hill to get to my home. All right, it's a wooded area. There's nobody out there. Not much traffic goes through that area. So I noticed that as I'm approaching this stop sign to go down the lane and get off this main street, there's a truck coming up the hill from the opposite end of the hill. It's coming up the hill, and I see the truck, and I got about, I say 150 yards of road there. And as I'm watching the truck, I'm noticing it's veering over into the wrong lane. And I'm sitting there like looking at this truck like, what's up with this truck? And I stop and I'm just watching this truck. I'm noticing after a few seconds, this truck is looks like it's coming straight for me, but it's not speeding as if it's gonna just run me over. It's slowing down like they know me or something. So sure enough, the truck pulls up. It's tinted out. I couldn't even see through the windshield. I couldn't even see the driver's hands on the steering wheel. Tinted out all the windows. It pulls up, dark colored truck, tinted windows, and it just stops. It's starting to come to a stop. Now, there's only been 2 or 3 times where I could say I've heard God speak. This was the first time. As this truck is coming to a stop, I just hear one word: run. Now, it's kind of like, you know, in high intense moments, you know, you hear people talk about time slowed down. It was kind of like that because I'm watching the truck slow down. I know something's not right about the truck. It's just so weird. I'm like, what is this? Then I hear the voice say run, and I'm like, that's not me. Like I recognize immediately that's not me. That's not my own mind. And the way in which it was a male voice, it was stern. It wasn't yelling. It wasn't like excited, like run. It was stern. It was very clear. And the sense that I got was like, this is dead serious, and you're not gonna get another chance. If you don't do this, you're gonna be in a world of trouble. So all of this is happening at one time, at the same time, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I jump. I just jump up in the air. I turn my body such that when my feet hit the ground, I'm facing the other direction, and I just run as hard as I can. I've always been like, well, most of my life I've been pretty big guy, big kid, portly kid, husky kid, right? So I wasn't winning a whole lot of races, but I wasn't a prankster either. So if I was running or yelling or something, everybody knew something is wrong. So I take off running as fast as I could go, as fast as my legs will push my body. I get about 15 or so yards, to where I know that my friend is down the hill. He's headed back down the hill. I start yelling, Sheldon, they're gonna get me. They're trying to get me. You know what I'm saying? He's down. He's about 80 or so yards down. He turns around. He starts coming back up towards me. So I run down till I meet up with him, and we look around. We grabbing sticks and rocks. We gonna head back up the hill and confront whoever this was, you know. But they had turned around and went back the way that they came. He never saw the vehicle. My friend never saw the vehicle. And so years later, I was watching TV. I was like in my 20s, my mid-20s. I was watching the TV and a commercial came on. It was Congresswoman Eleanor Norton Holmes. So she was doing a public service announcement. And what she said was, it was about combating human trafficking. And she said that I-20 was the human trafficking superhighway. So this incident that I just described to you, it would have taken about 30 minutes to get on I-20 from where that incident happened, if they would have gotten me. I think about that a lot. Whenever I see these kids that go missing, I think about that. Did God say something to them? Maybe he did and they just didn't listen. I don't know. So, a few years later, again, when this happened, I was about 12, 13. 4 or so years later, coming up on senior time in high school. And, you know, I did the normal stuff growing up in high school, wild parties and stuff like that. I wouldn't say nothing too wild, but I mean, it did get pretty wild. But I would say violence, the town where I grew up, it wasn't like a violent place as far as gun violence and things like that. So it was mostly just drugs and alcohol. Young people get caught up in that world, and it can be just as deadly. But so before going into high school, my mom was telling me, and I wrote about this in the intro of my book, about she had started to tell me about Proverbs, you know, read Proverbs. After some time, I started to do that. And it wasn't like I read it every day or anything like that, but it was like a seed was planted. And I would ask God often about wisdom. Again, following from that prayer when I was 6, manhood, the path of manhood, I need wisdom. That's one thing I know that I needed at all times, is having wisdom. So I was playing football. I got hurt in my junior year. Right before the season started, I broke my wrist. So I had to get surgery right before the season started. So I wasn't even able to play my junior year. Kept my grades up, all that was good. So my senior year rolls around. We had a great team, and got several offers. So what I want to do is thank God for being in a position to not have to worry about, like, how am I going to pay for my education. You know, my grades on point, and I was able to demonstrate enough during that 1 year where I got a lot of attention. And so after the season, you know, I'm visiting schools. I got invitation to visit a school in Mississippi. They recruited me for STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. Didn't do 1 day of schooling in Mississippi. They found me because I was in the records because I was born there, and they reached out to me. So that was really awesome. One thing I noticed though, I was like, I got on that campus, I seen all those women. I was like, look, if I go to school here, I'm not getting my lesson. Like, not because I can't, it's because I won't. Like, it's too many beautiful women here. And so that happened at a couple other places where I was recruited for football. Remember Norfolk State, went up there. The coach set me down. He handed me a book, and I'm just sitting there holding the book in my lap, and it's just page after page after page of guys that had went to the NFL from that school. That was the extent of our meeting with the head coach. It was very clear. Hey, you go here, you're gonna have a shot to go to the league if that's what you want. Went partying with the guys after. Already getting attention from women, older women. I was like, man, if I go to school here, I'm not getting my lesson. I know I'm not. So the school that I ended up going to, actually, it was like the perfect balance. It was like a good education, and I did not have that same temptation with the I don't want to put down talk to place. I would just say that for me, that wasn't going to be a problem. I would be able to focus. And so I was. And so I just want to thank God for blessing me with that wisdom, because sometimes I look back on it and, like, having gone through college, I now understand, the game and how it works. And, I'm just like, wow. It was kind of weird just thinking about it, because I was kind of like, man, I really want to have fun, but it's just, I couldn't make that decision. I knew that it was folly, and I just couldn't comfortably make that decision to go for the fun time. Even though I wanted to, I couldn't do it. So I thank God for blessing me, because that was definitely a blessing. So now, after I've chosen the university, I've got a few months this summer to basically train. I know I'm going to be playing football. I'm going to be going to the campus early to prepare for the season. So that's all I did that summer. I just exercised and went to church. That's pretty much all I did. I didn't hang out with my friends. Everybody feeling like, hey, we grown now, we graduated. Everybody wilding out, partying, getting ready to leave home. I did not do it. And part of the thing that I was thinking, my mind at the time was just like, again, I'm going to need this wisdom. I'm going to school outside of the state. I'm going to be far from home, friends, family. I don't know what, do I have what it takes? Even though I wasn't going to a big school as far as sports was concerned, academically it was a serious place. So, I'm having some of these doubts, and I'm just like, God, I just need to know that you're with me. And so the whole summer pretty much passed by. I wasn't like having these hour-long prayer sessions or anything like that. It was just a continuously, whatever would cross my mind, I would just be like, God, please help me. I need to know that you with me. About 3 weeks before it's time to pack up and leave and go to university, I had this dream. I'm gonna expound a little bit on this dream. But it was a prophetic dream. At the time when I had it, I didn't know what it was, what it meant, but I knew that it was supernatural. That's one thing. I knew that it was supernatural, but the meaning, I had no clue about the meaning. Now, a few days after that dream, I had another dream, which was, I would say, more along the lines of a nightmare. So I'm struggling with this entity. And I mean, it's a serious fight. And it got really intense. And near the end of the dream, this entity had gotten really close up on me, and it punched me in the chest, like this combination punch, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And I was so upset and just like, oh my God, I can't believe he just hitting me like this. It's like I couldn't defend myself. So out of my anger and just feeling these punches, because I could feel them, I wake up. And the thing about it was, as I woke up, I pushed myself up. I was laying on my chest. I pushed myself up, and I'm yelling out of anger, but the anger turned into fear because as I'm waking up, I could still feel the punches. So the first 2 punches, I'm in the dream sleep. As I wake up, pushing myself up off the bed, eyes wide open, I feel the last 2 punches. Man, I'm like, what is that? You know what? Like, man, hey, there's something going on with this. You know, so again, I mean, I thank God for hearing my prayer, for answering my prayer. Again, reminding me that there's a war, that there's a battle. Okay, so let's proceed to college. So I'm in the camp, preseason camp, working out crazy, workouts crazy. I would sometimes suffer in high school with cramps, like really bad cramps. My quads and my hamstrings would cramp up sometime at the same time. I would just have to like lay down on the floor and just position my legs such that my quads weren't being stretched or taxed too much, nor my hamstrings. And my mom would get so mad at me, like, why are you even playing this sport if it's putting you through so much agony? But I've been doing pretty good up in training camp, and but one day after we finish dinner, we was gonna have to leave the dining hall and go back to the gymnasium, the field house, and watch football film, and go over our positions. So everybody's kind of leaving the cafeteria, the dining hall, and I make it out the front door of the dining hall, and boom, I get hit with the cramps. So I'm sitting there like, man, look, this is happening again. This can't be happening. I'm trying to play it off. I'm trying to be tough. You know what I'm saying? So I just sit down. There's a bench right out front. So I just sit down on the bench, you know, just trying to play it off, man, because I don't want anybody to see me struggling like this. And it was pretty bad. And all I knew was if I just sit here, it'll pass after a while. So that's what I did. I just sat there, and sure enough, eventually everybody had left, and they were headed to the field house. And so I'm sitting there like, okay, let me try. Boom, they hit me again. And I'm like, man, I'm really in trouble, because it wasn't like campus was full. It was just pretty much the football guys there. Everybody's at the field house, is about a mile away. And I can't walk. So I'm sitting there in that pain, and you know, I'm thinking of it could be worse, you know, don't be a baby. And my thoughts along that stream of consciousness were one of my thoughts were, this pain that I'm feeling is nothing in comparison to the pain that Christ Jesus felt on the cross. Why? I don't really know why it just crossed my mind. I don't want to get the impression, guys, and I'm just in the clouds with it all the time and just praying and doing all this and that. I'm not. I'm just telling you, that crossed my mind. It was my thought, but that's how I think. And so, as I'm thinking about that, I'm seeing. I noticed the flash of what I thought was a little flashing light of a lightning bug. So I can remember, growing up, going out in the backyard by myself or with my friends sometime, and there'd just be hundreds and hundreds of lightning bugs. That greenish glow, and the woods would just be full of them. And I really cherished those moments, and it kind of made me think about that, and it kind of helped me. I'm like, oh, they go to little buddies, little lightning bugs. So I'm trying to get my mind off of this pain, and I look now where I'm seeing the what I thought was a lightning bug is at the part of the roof, okay, over the door. You got the door, front door to the dining hall, and part of the roof goes like this. So the activity was happening right in that area. So as I'm looking closer, what I see is there is no lightning bug. Literally, the cornerstone, these are stone structures, beautiful limestone structures at my undergrad university. There's a little cornerstone about this big that sat in that place. This stone, that's where the light was coming from. So now I'm not thinking about the pain anymore, because this is weird, man. This rock is flashing, literally flashing. Very erratic, much like a lightning bug, a firefly. I'm like, nah, this is spiritual, right? So in my mind, again, I never said a word this whole time. This is all in my mind. I said, God, if that's you, I want you to make that rock blink 3 times. And I'm going to get up and I'm going to head toward the field house in faith. So the light stopped. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay. All right, man. Let me. No, I wasn't tripping. All of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. That was it. Oh, snap. Okay. Well, I mean, I did say I would get up. So I got up. I started along the sidewalk, front of the building. Now I'm going down the side of the building. The building's not very wide, but it's very long. So I got a little ways to go. I get about halfway. Boom. The cramps hit me again. Quads and hams. All I could do is just lean up against this little sidewall. I can't walk. This is unbearable pain. I'm like, you know what? I said I was going. So I gotta go. And I just pushed through and Few seconds later, I noticed a van in the distance. I thought the van had passed by. I'm like, well, at least I know that maybe somebody will see me. I keep pushing. I keep on pushing. I'm like, man, I'm not gonna be able to make this. Like, I can't do this. I get to the end of the building. The van that I saw had pulled up. It was the sports team, the sports medicine people, you know, and they was looking for me. They was looking for me, and so yeah, I got in the little van. They gave me a couple potassium tablets, and I was good. So I want to thank God for showing me that He's there. In the smallest things, you know, these things, they take intimate aspects of my life. You know, when I'm little, I'm just watching the fireflies. And I feel, you know, that whole feeling of home and my friends and, you know, and God, like, remember, like, He knew that. And He incorporated that into something years later down the line. You know, it's very deep, man. It's very deep how He operates. And He takes very intimate things about our lives and incorporates them in other areas that to let us know He's there, to give us those reassurances. And yeah, you know, I don't know what to say. I kind of hesitated to even tell that particular story because it's so odd and it's so intimate to me. You know what I'm saying? Because I love nature, right? And I mean, what can I say, man? And I'm only like halfway through this, guys. I think what I'm gonna do is stop here. Yeah, I'm halfway through. I think I'm gonna stop here. I gotta turn this into a part 2. I thought I could knock all this out in one go. But yeah, I'm getting tired. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful that I can sit up here and give thanks for this long. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a lot to be thankful for. And I'm thankful, God, for you keeping me and just being with me and giving me such rich experiences of your care, your diligence, your faithfulness. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this with people. These experiences were not for nothing. They were not even for just me. God, I pray that this encourages others. It's not about the type of experience or my experience so much on the supernatural side. Others might not be. It's just to let people know, yes, I can say with 100% certainty, God does hear you. God is with you. And in these times of so much uncertainty, ask God for help. Ask Him for guidance. Ask Him for wisdom. He will help you. He will come through for you when you need it. I have to tell myself this because it's not like I'm in the most secure place right now. But just myself, when I watch this video, hey, battle done. Take heart. Be encouraged. God's got your back. Look how much He's done for you in the past. Didn't do all that. Sit up there and give up on you now. So with that, battle done. Till next time, y'all.